We, uh, we are on 2029. Chaf Testament Aleph. Chaf Testament Aleph. Uh-huh. Okay, gentlemen. We are on Chaf Testament Aleph, 29a. Okay. We're on 29a. Chaf Testament Aleph by the Mishnah. I guess Peretz is on his way. He has a lot of construction on top of his head, so literally. So, okay, so we're up to the Mishnah. We started the Mishnah yesterday. We'll try to go it again. A little bit more clarity. Here we go. What is a Shavuos? A literally means a oath for naught. That's the literal translation. It's an oath that is obviously not true that you take. What is an example of those? It's l'shanos hayadua la'adam. It's to say something different, to change that which is known to everyone. It's something that is clearly not the case, and yet you take an oath to that, just the opposite. Everyone knows that night is night and day is day, and you take an oath to the opposite. For example, Amar ala omud shel even shu shel zav. A person takes an oath that a pillar of stone is gold, which is clearly not the case. That is an example of shvua shav, and that would make him liable, if he does it intentionally, to get machos. Morning, parents. How are you managing with the noise? You're not managing. Okay. There should be a kapara for everything. All ever-present noise, I remember. Yeah. When people do that, yeah. So again, we're in the Mishnah. We're giving examples of shua shav. So the first example given is, he says, at a pillar, amud shel even shu shel zav. The pillar of stone is gold, which obviously is not. Everyone knows that. Val ish shu ish, val ish shu isha, val isha shu ish. Two more examples of something that everyone knows is obvious. If he takes an oath that a man is a woman is a man, that's a shua shav, and that's obviously a oath that clearly can't be the case. It's not the case. It's something that's not possible, so to speak. Okay. Nishba al davar she'efshalo. He also, another example is if he takes an oath on something that's impossible. We're the 1, 2, 3, 4th line in the Mishnah. Nishba al davar she'efshalo. He takes an oath on something that's impossible. For example, if I did not see a camel flying in the air, under normal, unless you had something that you took that a little something to drink or something that you're not supposed to take, that would normally not be the case. The Gemara, as I said last time, was going to discuss why it says in lo ra'isi. If I did not see a camel fly, logically you would say, if you want to give an example of something that's impossible, you would say, if I did see a camel flying in the air. So the Gemara is going to address that. Another example of something impossible, if lo ra'isi nachash kikoras beis habad. If I did not see a snake the size of the board of the olive press they put on top of it to extract the oil. The Gemara is going to explain what that means. When it has some questions, I'm going to explain what that means as well. Just quickly, if you look at Tosfos, Joe gave me Rav Yosef there gave me a hint that I should be looking at some Tosfos. I have a great Tosfos for tomorrow. We have a Tosfos for today. I have some other Mefarshim, but we'll look at Tosfos right now. The first Tosfos on the daf says the following. It says, Imlo Reisi Gamal Pareach. Now Tosfos is bothered by, it gave two examples of impossible things. It gave one of a camel flying in the air, another one of seeing a snake the size of the board of an olive press, which is not something that's possible, apparently. Yeah. The olive press? It's right. Even though in the Amazon they have snakes that are very large, but not that big. Right.
Scott, blind camels all the time.
Well, there's a whole discussion in Gemara about flying camels. Whether what does he mean when he says flying camel? Does he mean he sees a bird? But anyway, so the Gemara gives two examples of. So I learned. I'm sorry to interrupt. This may not be directly relevant, just because I need to understand British English to give the share properly. In Great Britain, they use inches as well. Use inches as a measure. We used to it. Oh, 1970. Inches and feet and yards. It's much easier for me. Thank you. Centimeters. This is centimeter. Yeah. Okay. 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 So we got it. Okay. Thank you. So the Mishnah brings two examples of things that are impossible. There's a flying camel and a giant snake. So Tosfos first has to ask the question, Tema, Dacha Katani Gamel Parech. Here we learn example of a flying camel. Lo Katani Kaoli Mitzrayim. It doesn't use an example. If I saw such a large number of people like the people who went out of Mitzrayim. Out of Mitzrayim is probably at least 2-3 million people. And back in those days, you would never see that many people. Today, you can potentially, I guess, see that many people. But if it's such an exaggeration, it would never be the case. Obviously, that's not the truth. But Perek Arba Nadarim, in Nadarim, Daf Chav Daled Amud Beis, there's a lot of things overlap between this Gemara that we're just learning now and the Gemara in Nadarim also. It says, Gabe Neder Havoy, Tani Ole Mitzrayim, Lo Tani Gamel Parech. There it uses a different case. It doesn't use as an example, as something impossible, something that won't be. It doesn't use the example of a flying camel. It uses for instance, I saw such a large number of people, like the number that went out of Mitzrayim. So Tosaf leaves it as an open-ended question. Well, why is the case? Here, by Shavuos Shav, it doesn't use that. But I saw an answer. I don't remember who said it. I don't remember who said it. But one of the answers given is that here, we're saying things that are just completely impossible. It can never ever be. You can never see a camel fly. That's why it's like almost like the signon of an example. It's an impossibility. So it can never ever be. Yeah, it's impossible. Right, you never see a snake that large. If you did, I think. Right. Yeah. Right.
It's impossible.
Right.
It's impossible. No, we don't say that in America. When the pig flies,
yeah.
That's what
yeah. Right.
So it is. So you see it.
It's a beferish impossibility. That's right. So one answer is given that when you say you see the number of people that went out of Mitzrayim, you saw 3 million people. It's not an impossibility. It's an exaggeration. That's maybe the point we're going to get. And we're trying to give examples of things that are just simply impossible to show, not a guzman. That's perhaps why it's included there as an example. Any case, so those are two examples of things that are impossible. You said things that are clearly not the case. You said things that are just can never be. These are all examples of Shavuos Shav, an example of an oath that can never be. The third type, and they're all the same type. The third example the Mishnah gives is a little bit tricky, as we started discussing yesterday. It talks about mitzvahs. You're taking an oath not to do a mitzvah, which is an impossibility. Well, let's read it inside, and then we'll look at Rashi. Maybe we can come up with a good svara. So we're in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th line in the Mishnah. Amar la'edim. He says to witnesses or potential witnesses, Ba'u v'heidiuni. Come and give testimony on my behalf. They know something for him, like Shimon owns him money or something. They saw him borrow the money. And they say, Shvur shalo ni'idcha. What we can oath that we're not going to testify on your behalf. As I said yesterday, that's not a Shvuas ha'edus, which is the next parak, which we'll be learning, God willing, on Tuesday, maybe Thursday, God willing. On Thursday, Shvuas ha'edus is when you say testify on behalf, and you say, it takes a testimony, it takes an edus, right? It takes a oath. That's what I'm trying to say. The Edom take an oath that they do not know testimony. Here, they say they know testimony, they just will not do it. They will not come and testify on your behalf. So there's a mitzvah from the Torah when you know testimony for someone to come and testify on their behalf. And if you don't do it, then you are violating that mitzvah. So you're essentially taking an oath to not perform a mitzvah. Right, you're taking an oath not to take a mitzvah. And as Rashi, the first Rashi points out, bitul mitzvah, it is a nullification of the mitzvah, because you have a mitzvah to come testify on somebody's behalf. Hainu davar sheyefshar. So yeah, that's where it gets tricky, putting those two together. We're always talking about things that are not impossible, can't be. And not, it's almost as if not performing a mitzvah, taking an oath to not perform a mitzvah is an impossibility. You're like, you're sworn in to to do a mitzvah to the extent that it's impossible you can't. You can't, you're not allowed to, so you can't. It needs some work, this svara, but it's a mitzvah that you're obligated in is to not do it as yashar. It's the same category, essentially. We'll think about that some more, but that's what Rashi says. And I need to understand it better, but that's what he says. And then it continues. The Mishnah continues. Nishba levatal sa mitzvah. Person takes an oath to not nullify, to not perform a mitzvah. For example, shelo laso sukkah. And Peretz was asking about this yesterday. We'll talk a little bit more, hopefully. He takes an oath not to make a mitzvah, not to make a sukkah. Now, the real mitzvah, as we know it, is to not leishev b'sukkah. That's to sit in the sukkah, to dwell in the sukkah. Teshuvah came to do it, but you're supposed to live there. V'shalo litos lulav, and not to take the lulav, which is the mitzvah. Shelo aniach tefillin, not to put on tefillin, which is also the mitzvah. These are three examples. If you take an oath to not do these three things, or any of these three things, to not make a sukkah, take a lulav, an esrog, and the other two, that's rabbos. Lo aniach tefillin, not to put on tefillin. Any of that is a shvuah shav, because you took an oath to not perform a mitzvah. It's in the category of shvuah shav, a shvuah for not, because it's yafshar. You have to perform this mitzvah. It's not possible that you're not going to perform the mitzvah. That's a little bit better. Right, and the Mishnah wraps it up and says, Zuhi shvuah shav. These are examples of shvuah shav. Shechayv al zadono makos v'ashegasa pater. That you are liable, you are chayiv, you're liable al zadono if you do it intentionally. If you intentionally do a shvuah, say a shvuah shav, knowing you're not, and you have witnesses that tell you, don't say that shvuah. You're not allowed to say that. He says, I'm going to say it anyway, and he's warned. And in the warning, as Rashi and Daf says, you have to mention the pasuk, the whole process to give pasra. Then he gets makos, gets flogged. V'ashegasa pater. Shvuah shav, as opposed to a shvuah spitoy. Shvuah shav, you take an oath for not about something that can't be. If you do it accidentally, you don't have to bring a korban. Shvuah spitoy, you say, I will eat chicken today, or something like that. A person takes an oath of that nature, and then he doesn't eat chicken today. Or let's give a more classic example. He says he won't eat chicken today, and then he does eat chicken today. He has violated his oath unintentionally, and he's chayiv makos. And it's a real chiddush to say, because normally we only give, and he's chayiv to bring a korban. It's a real chiddush to say that you have the real novelty to say that he is. Here, when we say the shvuah shav, if you take it accidentally, you don't bring a korban. That's really the standard, because in order to bring a korban for doing something accidentally, the parallel, the intentional, the mazid, has to be something greater than that. It has to be like a kares example, just something that you get makos. Intentionally, unintentionally doesn't normally make a korban. It has to be something more serious. This is shvuah spitoy, saying I will do something, I won't do something, and then you accidentally violate that. You have to make a korban as an exception to the rule. So the fact that we say a shvuah shav does not bring a korban if you take a shvuah shav accidentally, you violate it, is not really the chiddush. That's for us. We've been talking about shvuah spitoy for 27 plus daf here already. So violate your oath accidentally, bring a korban, right? It's like, well, but it's not necessarily the case. It's not so simple. Anyway, so we mentioned the sukkah. We mentioned sukkah that it mentions here as an example a mitzvah, making your sukkah, building your sukkah. And we discussed yesterday, as Paris brought up, that the Mishnah, the Bavli doesn't really look at it as a mitzvah. I mentioned briefly, I believe the Yerushalmi says you say say a bracha on making the sukkah. We don't do that. Mr. Mishnah Berurah, I don't remember who. I think it's brought in the Mishnah Berurah. I don't remember. Don't quote me. Says that one should, when the first night of Sukkot, when you say your shechianu, when you make a kiddush and your shechianu, should have in mind also the sukkah, have in mind the asiyah sukkah, the building of the sukkah. But anyway, it says it here in some other places as well. It uses an example, another Mishnah, at least one other, that I believe that making a sukkah as a mitzvah, and we know it's not a mitzvah. We don't say bracha. It's like a hechsher mitzvah. It's the means to perform the mitzvah. So it's a question. It's a question that's brought up. The Avnei Nezer, I saw, brought down that's actually is a mitzvah. He says it actually constructs based on this Mishnah and other Mishnahs. That's the mitzvah. It's very clear. It's hard to deny. It's a Mishnah. It's not no machlokes on it. It's a stam Mishnah. It says.
Is a mitzvah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's an inference, but it's pretty clear inference. This levatal is a mitzvah, to be batal mitzvah. What example? Shalom lasal sukkah. That sounds like pretty clear. It's a mitzvah, right? Right. So Lavin says it is a mitzvah, and he also quotes a Rashi in the Makos somewhere. I'm holding in every Rashi Makos, so it turns out. But that's what he says. Anyway, it's interesting. It's an interesting topic. The brachos is a sukkah. The mitzvah of sukkah is also an interesting topic, but not really in Shavuos now. So
the build the sukkah is not really the actual mitzvah to live in the sukkah and sit in it. That's the mitzvah.
Right, that's correct, and that's why that's how we hold. That's seemingly we hold. As I said, there's a Yerushalmi that seems to say that says you say a bracha on it, and this Mishnah seems to imply that this building is a mitzvah. It's a difficulty. It's a difficulty that needs further clarification. Okay. So the Mishnah continues, 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth to last line in the Mishnah. Shvuos ochel kikar zu. Person takes an oath to eat this loaf. Then right after he says, Shvuos shelo ochlena, takes an oath that he won't eat it. So now you have two contradictory oaths. So the Gemara will discuss how they work in tandem. They don't work in tandem, whatever. But if one takes an oath to eat this particular loaf of bread, and then takes an oath to not eat the loaf of bread, the first one, our Mishnah is more concerned about how to classify these two oaths. So the Mishnah says, "Harishona shvuas bitoy." The first oath is a shvuas bitoy, is an expression. You say, "I will do something, I won't do something." He said, "You will eat the loaf." So that's a shvuas bitoy. Shnia, the second one, shvuas shav. The second one is a shvua for not, because you are already sworn in to do that mitzvah. You take an oath to do something, you have to fill your oath. It's a shvua for not, to violate the mitzvah. Yeah? You said took an oath. You have to you took an oath. You have to fill your oath. That's a mitzvah. You don't fill the oath, you're violating the mitzvah. So it's a shvua shav. It's not, because it can't be. You can't not eat it. You have to eat it. Achla, if he does go ahead and eat it, well, he's fulfilled his mitzvah to his shvuas vitoy, but avar al shvua shav. He's violated shvua shav. He took an oath not to. We'll discuss that. But lo achla, if he doesn't eat it, avar al shvuas vitoy. He took an oath to eat it. So the two are sort of in polar opposites. He's being held in polar opposites. Take a drink.
According to the Mishnah, the first one, if he made us say, I will not eat, and make the second one, I will eat, right?
That's the opposite.
No, I will eat, and then I won't eat.
Right.
And he transgresses the first one willingly, knows nothing. That's Marcos. And what's the second one?
The second one, he says he won't eat. So we'll discuss it further. It's a little bit complex. If let's say they stand alone, let's look that way. Each one is not together. He does one or the other. He does the second one alone.
Right. Yeah, so the second one's in vain.
Right.
So what was the punishment for that?
If he knowingly and intentionally was warned not lo sisa Hashem Hashem Hashem, the witnesses warn him, and they throw the pasuk in, or somebody warns him. There's witnesses, and then if he doesn't intentionally, he would get flogged, the makos. If he did it unintentionally, he would not need to bring a korban. He has to do tshuva. Have to take the repentance, well, whatever degree he has to do repentance for doing something accidentally, but still, yeah, okay. So there's an interesting question about we're talking about diaraisas, the mitzvah Torah. If you accidentally violate a mitzvah Torah, what if you accidentally violate a mitzvah derabanan? You do a derabanan. It's not a ktsos. Maybe it's someone. Maybe it's the sivas, I think. The Sivas says it. I'm not sure. The Sivas says it. That the Isser of a Rabbanon is lo sasur, kol davar, yaminu small. You're not allowed to turn. You're not allowed to deviate from what the rabbis tell you. It's an act of not compliance. The Torah tells you must listen to the sages that I've given you, who tell you what the Torah tells you. That's Hashem telling you. You must listen to my servants, so to speak. You must listen to my authority, the rabbis who tell you how to act. If you do it accidentally, so it's sort of an act of rebelliousness to a certain extent, the sivas. If you don't do that derabanan accidentally, it's the sivas. I think this is the sivas who says it. it says that if you don't do it, you did it accidentally, you're not rebellious. By definition, to rebel, you have to do it intentionally. If you accidentally violated a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, you didn't do the mitzvah d'Rabbanan, whatever it is. Let's say you forgot to like light candles on Hanukkah or something, something like that. So then that would not require tshuva because you haven't done the act. It's only, but by d'oraisa, it's different. It's just Hashem commanded you to do the mitzvah. Accidentally, there's a different gather, it's a different category which would require tshuva. But anyway, that's off the topic. But.
Racking my brains. Well, are we in a situation where I remember learning it in Hilchot Shabbat, where the rabbis made certain rulings and guidelines, like a gathering.
Right.
But I'm trying to learn somewhere that if you break one of these gatherings of the rabbanim, punishment is equal to as if you broke four of them, isn't that right?
Yeah, it's sometimes worse. But they're talking about intentionally. Yeah, intentionally. Yeah, yeah, intentionally together. Like it's like apart together. It's like it's it's a bad thing. It's considered like Torah law. Yeah, well, Sasur, Nasivos. I don't know if everyone agrees, but this is Nasivos. But he says that the category is such of a D'Rabbanan that it's rebellious. It's a rebellious act to do it. So that's a bad rebellion. Is a bad. If you think about it, essentially rebellion is a bad thing. If you do it accidentally, it's not rebellious. That's what he's saying. So if you do it, it doesn't require tshuva. But it's a way off into Lumbus land discussing this. Yeah.
I read somewhere. The Torah, God made the Torah, when he gave it to us down here on earth, the Rabbanim, how they interpret it is law. How they interpret it. It's law.
Yeah.
The right hand of the Rabbanim. Take something out of the Torah and they interpret it a certain way, then it becomes law. Right.
No, the Cholamoid is a good example. Like what's our Asr Cholamoid? You're right, so the Cholamoid is.
Hashem gave us the Torah down here, and it gave the Rabbanim, these real sages, the ability to translate it the way it should be, then that becomes law.
Right. The Cholamoid is a good example of that, Cholamoid, the Torah, Hashem gave the Isser certain things can't do on Cholamoid, but the pratim, the details were left to their Rabbanim to decide. That becomes the law of Cholamoid, which is in the Torah. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the Gemara. Just adjust this on the screen here. Oh, that didn't move. Okay. Okay, there we go. It's about right. Okay. Now up to the Gemara. This Gemara, well, we saw a lot of this Mishnah before. The first line in the Gemara we saw also. We discussed previously in the Gemara. Amar Ula. Ula says, "V'hu shenikar legimel b'nei Adam." He's giving you, Ula is saying that a Shua Shav, what's the definition of a Shua Shav that's known to everyone? That it's qualified that it's nikar legimel b'nei Adam. It's recognized, it's clearly known that at least three people. They gave for example, they say a pillar of stone is gold. There are definitely three people who recognize that that's not the case. You say a man is a woman, there's certainly three people. There'd be something else, like something that's less obvious. As long if it's recognized, known to three people, then that's considered known, and considered if you swear to the opposite of that, that is considered Shua Shav. Right. Yeah. Okay, good. Rashi, important on that. I think we Rashi just points out the first Rashi. Ha'omud, hu shenikar, for example, ha'omud, the shlosh bnei Adam. For example, the pillar is recognized by three people that pillar, what he speaks, is a pillar of stone and not gold. Who? Habehu, amud, I'm sorry. Shehu nikar amud l'shlosh bnei Adam. Who the have shav of alonikar have shua sheker. But if it's not recognized by three people, then it moves over to the category of shua sheker. It's still false. It's still a false oath. Whether it's shua sheker, is then the difference would be whether you're required to bring a korban for shua sheker. In any case, let's continue with the Gemara. The Gemara brings down part of the Mishnah, and we'll discuss it. Nishba al davar shi efsharlah. One example of shua shav is that he takes an oath about something that can't be. For example, he says, Im lo ra'isi gam al parak ba'aver. If it did not see a camel flying in the sky. Okay, so the Gemara is going to ask, Shvuar shar'isi lo kamar. It doesn't say oath that I saw. Ma'im lo ra'isi. What does it mean, lo ra'isi? But logically, you would see, you want to give an example. If he said something that can't be, he takes an oath that he saw a camel fly in the sky. What do you mean? Take note that if I didn't see a camel fly in the sky, it's almost opposite. You want to say, of course you didn't see it. It should be the other way. Yeah, I did see a camel fly in the sky. So there's two answers to that. Mayim lo you see? So, yeah. It is also strange. If I did not see a camel fly in the sky, if I did not see, like almost a, yeah. So nishbal davar she'efshar lo. So Abaye says, Tani shua sharisi. He changes the lashon. He learned in the Mishnah shua sharisi. He takes an oath that I saw it. I saw a camel fly in the sky. That's what it means. Slight change. Not im lo ra'isi gam al. So ra'isi gam al parach ba'avir. Takes an oath that I saw a camel fly in the sky. And that's obvious. Rava is going to say something different. Rava is going to different. He says, Rava Amar, what's the case? Omer ya'asru kol perush ba'olam alai. I forbid all the fruits of the world upon me. If I did not see a camel fly in the sky, it gives a sort of a different angle to it. He takes an oath. All these fruits are forbidden to me if I did not see a camel fly in the sky. Yeah. So the way it's wording is he's saying I'm taking oath. I certainly saw this. In other words, this is a different wording, but the same idea. Yeah. No, it's in these fruits that he says camel fly. But yeah. Okay.
Time he's making a
Right.
basically like we saw the beginning of the sector.
Right.
Making this a condition now add throw the wrench into the whole.
Right.
Whole
right. So it has to be. You have to be cognizant of that. Yeah. Has to be double. Yeah. It's a wrench. Yeah. But maybe that's why Abai didn't want to say that. Maybe he wanted to keep it more straightforward. Maybe Abai said, no, we'll just change the girsa. What's the girsa? Isi gamal puyach ba'avir. Simple. Yeah, possible. Okay, so now that we're going to question, Ravina is going to ask Rav Ashi about this camel. Maybe it's not a shvuah shav. We're assuming that he says, I saw a camel fly in the sky, right? Maybe that's not a shvuah shav. Well, obviously it's a shvuah shav because it can't be. But Ravina is going to ask Rav Ashi a question. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th line down in the Gemara.
there's a big that here's
Yeah.
if I see the camel, the guy says he saw the camel, that he sees the camel fly. We know that can't be. It's like saying that the rock is gold.
Right.
Not gold rock. It's a rock.
Right.
Okay, so he's taking a false oath.
Right. Correct.
But somebody who's saying that I did. This is true. If I did not see a camel fly, which means that he did not. We know that he did not see a camel. So it's true. So it's sort of a. He's saying he's saying that Shavuos holds. This is what he's doing. He's making a false Shavuos.
He's making
thinking that he's putting a tanai on it, that will get him out of it. That's what it's.
No, he's saying he's trying to back himself up. It sounds like I'm so sure I saw a camel fly that I'll forbid all the fruits in the world to myself if I did not. But it's you could argue it the other way, but I think the point is that the one is just trying to give an example why he'd be using the negative lashon, the negative terminology. If I did not see, but obviously that's what they're trying to get at. I mean, you could think about this more. I mean, every line in the Gemara, has.
Why by arguing that instead of saying, let's say, I hold the case is this, but in that case, they're both two possible cases. Why don't they expound on both cases? Why are they trying to eliminate one of them as a possibility, as if it would never happen? In fact, it would.
Why does Abaye choose one and Rava choose the other? Is that your question? Why? That's explanations from this.
Yeah. Why not? Why really, there should be both of these cases. What's the din in both of these cases? Instead, they're arguing, no, the case is this, or the case, no, the case is that.
Sometimes the Gemara asks, why didn't he say like him, and why did he say like him? Well, the Gemara in this case does not choose to do that. I don't know why it does. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. It's a good question. It could be either. It's either two are potentially good answers. I don't know. We could try to sit here.
They're both smart.
Right.
They're both possibilities. You have to entertain both of them. Unless you could say, if I learn this one, I can learn out that from that.
Or you could say there's a reason you don't like the other one. We don't know that. We don't know.
But, so then, okay, fine. So you left me hanging. What about the other one?
Gemara left us hanging. You're right. The Gemara didn't, for some reason, the Gemara didn't want to get into it. Sometimes the Gemara, you'll see, says, why did he say like that? And how did he say like that? And sometimes they'll go back and forth. And sometimes they'll just leave it. I don't know why. They just left it. You're right. It needs further detail, but I don't know. You know what? Tonight, sit down with the Gemara, review it, and think about it. Just think about it while you're working. Think about it. Don't let the svara. Homework. One homework out. We don't give homework. My kids don't like homework. I don't like homework either. So, okay. So I'm gonna Ravina Ravashi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 line down. So 6 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down in the Gemara. The Gemara line. 6 line down. Last 2 words of the line. Amar le Ravina Ravashi. Ravina says to Ravashi, maybe this is not a shvua shel. Maybe it's not a shvua that can't be. Why? The Dilma Hai Gavra, this person who took the oath, he did not see a camel. He saw a camel fly. Sipora Rabba Chazi. He saw a giant bird, eagle, vulture, something like that. Va'asikle Shma Gamla, and he called it Gamla, camel. Chika Mishtaba Adaiti Didei Ishtaba. And when he takes an oath, he's taking an oath with regard to what he's thinking. He's taking, I saw a camel fly. I saw a Gamla Parach Bavir. Yeah. What he meant was, I saw something that to me I'm going to refer to as a camel because it was so big, but he didn't really mean it. So maybe it's not a shvur for not. What he meant is he saw a bird flying, took an oath that he saw a bird flying in the air. But what he said with his words, he saw a camel. But what he meant is this bird that I referred to as a camel because it was so big, flying in the air, which is interesting. Yeah.
But that's not seeing a camel.
Right.
I swear I did not being the operative word.
If I did not see a camel.
I did not see.
If I did not see a
camel.
camel.
Did he turn around and said, I saw a camel, which looked like a bird, such a big bird, looked like a camel. I saw a camel flying. That's not what the Mishnah is saying. The Mishnah is saying, if I did not see a camel flying, then that's a false oath.
Yeah, it says, if I did not, means if I did not see, which means I did see. Now let's look at it that way. That's the first straightforward, to make it a little more straightforward. He takes note that I saw a camel. So obviously that's a shvua shel, because it's impossible. But really, he's taking an oath, the Gemara says, on what he's thinking. Now what he's thinking, I took an oath that I saw a camel. What he means is a bird called camel to him. That's how he referred to it. I saw a camel bird. So big, aren't there as an elephant bird or something? Is that a real or fake animal? I don't know if it's a real one. Oh, yeah, whatever. Yeah. So anyway, so that's what he said. So, and we're going according to his thinking. If we go according to his thinking, that what matters is that what he thought rather than what he said, then it wouldn't necessarily be a shua for not, because a impossible shua, because we said the words camel, but he meant bird. That's not true. The Gemara is going to say, and that would be the case. Say, but if you would say no, wait a second. So we're going by the way he's thinking, adate, on his thought process, his knowledge, what he's thinking, what he's feeling, or on what he says. Because what he said was camel, like you mentioned now. He said camel. But we're going to say now the proof that we don't look at what he said, we go at what he's thinking when you take an oath. And if we're going away to he's thinking, then even though he said camel, but he was thinking bird, so it's not really a sure for nothing. The chitema, says the Gemara, basar puma azlina. And if you say we go according to what his mouth said, what he said, lo azlina and basar date, and not what he was thinking, in that case, that would solve our problem. But we don't say that. Why? Tanya, we learned in a brisa, Nidarim, azlina kemashbian oso. When Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm sorry, that's the next brisa. Mashbian oso. When Bezdin makes a someone take an oath in Bezdin, takes in court, to make someone take an oath. For example, if one witness contradicts you, or you your motive of mixas, you partially admit, something like that. Omrim lo, they make the witness take an oath. They tell him the following: Omrim lo, havi yodea shelo al daitcha anu mashbinoscha. You should know we're not making you swear based on what you're thinking. Ella al daltenu, and based on the Marsha in Chedushi Agados, it's to say al das hamakom, al das besdin. He says we're not making besdin before they make a witness or somebody swear in court. They tell him we're not making you swear based on what you're thinking. We're making you swear on what we're thinking, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is thinking. The Marsha changes it. If you don't change what the Marsha, you would read al daltenu al das besdin. Our knowledge and das besdin, it's like the same thing. Anyway, the Marsha, Chedushi Agados, changes that and makes it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. My timer, what's the reason to make him swear that? Lav neshun damrinan. Isn't it because we're concerned, maybe Dilma is kundre yahevli. He gave him like wood chips, or Rashi says, hatichos eitz katanos shemesachim bahem. Some sort of like wood chips that you play with. Wood chips of some sort that could be, and he lushma zuzi, and he calls them zuz, coins. So he says when he make him swear that that he gave back the money, for example, he give him back his zuz. He says, yes, I gave him back his zuz. He's thinking I gave him back his wood chips. Even though everyone knows what the court's talking about. They're not asking about his gains, his wood chips. They're asking about the money he owes. But he's thinking wood chips because he calls them zuz. Because maybe they look like zuz. Okay, I'm sorry. My time. Allah mishum damrin and Dilma is kundre yahavle vasik lehu shma zuze. Dechi kameshtaba daite didei kameshtaba. Because when he swears and he says, yes, I gave him back his zuz. He's meaning that he gave back the zuz, he means the wood chips, not the coins. So in order to preclude that, Bezdin says, you're taking an oath according to the way we're thinking, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu thinks, not what you're thinking, wood chips. What people call zuz is zuz. Well, we see from there that if they didn't say this, we would take into consideration what he's thinking. Not for the fact that Bezdin made him swear this, not for the fact that Bezdin put in the stipulation, we would take it into account what the person is swearing about, what he personally is thinking. So perhaps too here, the same thing. You have a guy says, I saw a camel fly in the air. He's really thinking a giant bird that looks like a camel. It reminds him of a camel. He calls it camel. So then that's not an oath for naught. So the Gemara answers, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines from the last, 9th to last narrow line. Low. No, that's not the case. Why did Bezdin why did Bezdin put in the stipulation before he takes an oath that you're taking an oath on what we think as a Bezdin and what God thinks, and not what your interesting way of thinking is? And said, lo, hasa mishum kanya de rava. The reason they make him say that when you take an oath, young man in court, not so young, you're taking an oath the way we think. He's saying that because of the case of a kanya de rava. It's in the Dharam, brought down the Dharam. This Gemara is very similar to the Gemara in the Dharam over there. The case of Kanya the Rava, the cane of Rava. It wasn't Rava's cane per se. It was it's the Chavdal Chafei. That's Chafei. There was a cane. The guy owed some guy Zuz owed some money, coins, and the guy said, "Swear to me." And the Bezdin was making him swear, and then he's going to swear on a Sefer Torah that he doesn't owe him any, that he gave back his coins. I believe the exact terminology was. So as he's going up to take the oath, he hands the debtor, the guy who owes the malva, the guy who he borrowed from, he hands him his cane. Here, take this from me, right? And inside this cane is a false bottom, false everything. There's a bunch of coins in there. And so he gave him, and he goes, swears on the Sefer Torah and says, I gave him back his coins. And he did give him back his coins. And the guy who's owed is so mad, he takes this thing and throws it. And out comes all the coins. Sheker in roller goyim, doesn't have any leg to stand on, falsehood. So, and so because of that, because of all these crazy cases, because of this particular case, they make him say, a witness to swear is that you're swearing not on what you're thinking, but what we're thinking. Not that we take in consideration what the person's thinking. We're worried about this kind of case. He said, I gave him back the coins, and he did give him back the coins. We're precluding that. But in truth, we go after what he says, not what he thinks. So if you say, I saw a camel fly in the air, we don't think that's not a Shavuos Shav. Maybe he meant something he calls a camel that's actually a bird, and we go by your words. What you actually say, right? If it's a Shavuos Shav, the bird, yeah, it can't be. Your intentions are not important when it comes to. Well, that's not good. I shouldn't say. If we don't look at what you're thinking, what would you say? I was going to say your intentions don't matter in Shavuos. That's not true.
Yes, whilst the person can say truth.
Yeah. Say the truth. That's what we're concerned. And saying the truth when it's not the truth. Yeah. Right.
This is what helps you with this finding the job. That's why one of the criteria understood is that dining have to have both litigants in front of them.
Right.
Because as much as they hear what they say, they also read body language. In the body language, you get truth.
Right. And they also bring their cane to court. It's also important. They also bring their cane to court.
No.
That's very funny.
In America, they don't really do it so much. They say the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help you. Okay. So in this case, so the guy says, yeah, he goes along with it, and he's got the cane. So it would escape
Yeah.
court. Here,
Yeah.
the law is saying no.
Yeah.
We would not go by with you, but and I saw you stop it short because we have learned previously that we will take the guy's words, but we'll do cases at all. But we can't. The court sort of will interpolate.
And I know what you're referring to. The general concept. Okay, so we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Eight lines from the eighth last narrow line. Eighth last narrow line. The first word line is the Rava. Second word in Tashma. Eighth to last narrow line. Second word in Tashma. The first word line is Dirava. Tashma. Now the Gemara is completing the second part of this brisa that I quoted before. So we find Hishbia Moshe as Yisrael. When Moshe on Arvos Moav, that's one of the places that Klal Yisrael spent time before they came to Eretz Israel. It's the plains of Moab across the Jordan River. They were encamped there, and Moshe made them take an oath to keep the Torah. When Moshe made them take an oath, Omer Lai said to them, should know, Delo al datchem ani mashbiatchem, al das hamokum v'al dati. But rather, I'm making you take this oath to keep the Torah on the das of Hashem and my das. So, v'mai, why do you have to say that? Leima lahu kimu mai de amar aloka. Just take an oath that to keep that which Hashem said. La mishum maskia datayu. Maskia datayu avodas chachavim. Aren't we concerned that when if they would say the oath, kimu ma de amar aloka, that we're going to keep that which Hashem said, aloka said, aloka, they're referring to, God forbid, they're referring to idolatry, some sort of deity, fake deity, other than God. That's why. So therefore, we were concerned about that. Moshe said, no, I'm making you take an oath on what Hashem means and what I mean. Isn't that because we're worried about what they're thinking? That their intentions, they take the oath, it sounds like their intention is important. You know what they're thinking, rather than what they're saying. That's what it sounds like. Because otherwise, why would Moshe make them take that extra part? Make that stipulation in the oath. So the Gemara says, third to last narrow line, second word in, lo. Mishum davodas gechavim nami ikri aloka. I'm sorry. No, they're not worried about their thinking. If we use that terminology, we're not worried about their thinking, we're worried about what they said. But even what you said could be subject to interpretation. You said aloka, that could have a different interpretation. Aloka could mean, lo mishum davodas gechavim nami ikri aloka. Avodas Chavim also use the terminology Aloka, God, your God. Yachsiv Elokei Chesed V'Leizav Lo Sasun Nitiyah. Believe the pasuk is Lo Sasun Nitiyah Elokei Chesed V'Leizav Lo Sasun. Not supposed to make a god of a god of gold and silver. Whereas some of the Hasidic masters like to say, don't make silver and gold a god. That's a yeah. Okay. So last narrow line, last one line. Let Moshe just say to them, Kimu Torah, that they take an oath that you're going to keep the Torah. The problem with that is Chada Torah. This is like a good primer on let me translate it. They say the problem is that is Chada Torah. They may mean the interpretation that those words can be one Torah. There's two Torahs. This is a good example of how careful you have to be with your words. Chada Torah. V'lema, let Moshe make them take an oath. Kimu shtei Torahs. Keep both Torahs. Torah shebichsav and Torah shebal peh. I'm sorry, I didn't explain that before. If Moshe would have had them swear to keep the Torah, it could have meant either of the Torah. Torah shebichsav and Torah shebal peh. The written Torah, the oral Torah. So what should Moshe have done instead? Make them take an oath. Keep both Torahs. Torah shebichsav, Torah shebal peh. Say shtei Torahs. So, but the problem is, the Torah refers to Torah Chatas, Torah Asham. The Torah says, there's a pasuk that says Rashi, it's about the fifth to last Rashi. I Amar Kimu Toros. If Moshe would have made them swear to keep the Toros, meaning Torah Shebeksav, Torah Shebal Peh, have a maskid that tayu lishvuye ahanach tarti. You might think that they're taking an oath on these particular two things, on to keep what? To keep the Torah of Chatas and Torah of Asham, the sin offering, the Asham offering. It's also like a sin offering. The Ikru Torahs, because they are called Torah. Below Ashar mitzvahs, but not intending for other mitzvahs. Anyway, that's what you would think. Okay, so what should you say? So in the middle of the first wide line, Kimu kol Torah kula. Moshe should have made them take an oath to keep the whole Torah. That seems to solve the problem, right? No, because that lashon, that terminology is not sufficient because it can go a different way. Over avodas kachavim, it could mean that they're vowing to only not do idolatry. Why? Because idolatry, as we'll see, is almost equivalent to all the Torah. Damar chumura avodas kachavim shekol hakofer ba kemoda b'chol Torah kula. Idolatry, avodah zarah, is so severe that if one denies the value of avodah zarah, of idolatry, it's like he admits to all the Torah. So committing to keep the Torah, committing to keep just avodah zarah, not do avodah zarah, it's like committing in a certain way to keep the whole Torah. So if you would say, Moshe would have made the Jewish people an Arba Smal swear to keep all the Torah, it would perhaps what could understand that as he's telling them they're committing to just not do avodah zarah. Okay, so then third line in, the Gemara says, Lema, let Moshe take an oath. Lema lahu kimu mitzvah, keep mitzvah, which means in every single mitzvah. That's what it meant. But if he would have said that, chada mitzvah, it should clearly, and I would think personally, that's what I would have interpreted. That means they're committing to keep one mitzvah. So what else should you say? You should have them swear, kimu mitzvos, keep the mitzvos. But that could also be interpreted a different way. Just not what you're thinking, but what it could be, the words could be interpreted. Party. You could interpret that as two, because the minimum of plural is two, right? So what should Moshe have made them swear? To keep kol ha-mitzvos kulan. You should keep all the mitzvahs. No, but that's the problem, because it may mean, when you say that, the mitzvah of tzitzis. Why? Because we'll see that mitzvah tzitzis is equivalent in its greatness to all the other mitzvahs. Damar Mar, in the Brisa somewhere, Menachos, that makes sense. Shekula mitzvah tzitzis kedei kol mitzvahs kulan. That the value of mitzvah is equated, mitzvah tzitzis is so great, it's equated to all the mitzvahs combined. So if Moshe Rabbeinu would have taken, on Arba Smav, would have made Klal Yisrael take an oath, keep kol mitzvahs kulan, to keep all the mitzvahs, that could technically be interpreted as telling them to keep only the mitzvah of tzitzis. So second to last line in the middle, v'lema lahu Kimu sheish me'os v'shlosh esrei mitzvos. So make them swear to keep all 613 mitzvos. So why then? It seems to be good. Why didn't Moshe say that? Why did Moshe have to stipulate? Why you're taking the oath on Lafi Maidas, Lafi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It sounds like what you're thinking is important. It's like when your thought is what's important to oath rather than what you're saying. So they ask back. Those who are answering ask back, or being questioned ask back. L'taimech, according to your reasoning, le'melahu al dati al das makom lamali. According to what you're saying, just make them swear on my das. Why do you have to make them swear on HaKadosh Baruch Hu's das? HaKadosh Baruch Hu say. Now these words le'melahu are a little bit difficult. Rashi does not mention them. The Rif in Alfasi does mention them. But anyway, it reads the same. But in any case, so the question is, why did Moshe make them swear? Okay, so the question we're asking now is why, Moshe is making them swear, but why did Moshe make them swear both on his das and the das of Hashem? Because one is enough. If we're trying to weed out some sort of what they're thinking or what they're not, whatever it is, we'll see soon. Why is it important to make them swear on both? So we're flipped to Chav Tes Amud Beis 29b. Flip that. Give me 1 second. Okay. Ella ki heichi delot have afara l'shvuasayu. The reason why Moshe made them swear, Moshe stipulated that this oath that they're making to keep all the Torah in Arvos Moab, in the plains of Moab, he made them swear to keep all the Torah, both the fee, what his das, Moshe's knowledge, and the das of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the thinking of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is because there'd only be a possibility of being mefer, of undoing, of being matir this shvua. There's a shvua that's made al das acherim, a shvua that's made with the knowledge or al das along the on the condition, what do you say? On the authority, perhaps you'd say, of the rabbin, of the multitudes, of the many acherim, cannot be reversed. For example, let's say, so here, since it was done through Moshe and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's more than one, so therefore it could go back. So really, we're not concerned about what you're thinking. That's how the Gemara answers, sums it up. We're not thinking, when Moshe said, on Arvos Moab, Moshe stood in the plains of Moab, and stood before the Jewish people, in Parshas Devarim, I think, maybe it was in Bamidbar, whatever. He stood there and he made all Klal Yisrael swear that they're going to keep the Torah. He says it's on al date al makom al dati. Since I'm making you swear to my knowledge and to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's knowledge, with my authority, Hashem's authority, Moshe's authority. Why? And that sounds like it's concerned about their thinking. So like, no, not what you're thinking, what I'm thinking. No. It doesn't matter different what they're thinking. They swear, an oath, they're going to keep the Torah, and do it in the Torah. No interesting ideas. I meant Torah, I meant that, I meant this, I meant that. No, it's not what you're thinking, man. It's what you said. So why did Moshe make them swear? According to Hashem and according to me, because when an oath is taken in that way, al das acherim, the knowledge, according to other people, das rabim acherim, with multiple people, the multitudes, put it that way, including Hashem. Therefore, it can't be reversed. You can't undo that oath. You can't be matir that oath. You can't nullify that oath. That's a good question. For the subject of the oath, that's a good question you're asking. How would this be matir exactly?
No, it's nice because it's all inclusive.
Yeah.
So you can't escape.
Yeah.
You could say, well, I didn't know the Torah says this. I thought the Torah meant pigs instead of camels. So obviously,
Torah means tzitzis instead of Torah, right?
Fine. What's the question?
How can you get out of this? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, you can't get out of this because it's all inclusive.
Right.
But here is saying that we want to know who's the subject. What's the subject?
Who is the subject of the oath? Or what is the subject? All of Klal Yisrael took this oath. All the Klal Yisrael, Moshe and Hashem are taking. Moshe is taking through the das of Hashem and the das of Hashem.
So when we say the das Moshe, what you're saying when, for instance, with us, this is a big finish for me now. Now I understand. When we say the Das Moshe, like for instance, in or Kedusha, okay,
That's most of yourself.
okay, we never learn when we learn Masechet Kedusha. What is this thing, Das Moshe? But we didn't learn that, and here it is. This is it.
It's
It's an
I don't know exactly why. It's a similar concept. I don't know exactly. Here I'll tell you why. We say it's this concept of Rabin, that it's the oath is taken with the knowledge, with awareness, and with the agreement of the multitudes. It can't be undone. So the question is, if you need two or more people, that's Rabin. Some say Hashem and Moshe is two, or some people say that's multitudes. There's nothing like Hashem, obviously. So it's like many people. It's many more than, obviously not the same as many people. It's multiple. But maybe I'll read Rashi. Lo al dadchem. It wasn't only you're not the way, not just for you. It should be an oath that's al das acherim with the knowledge and awareness of the agreement of many. So you won't be able to be matru, to nullify it. The neder shehudar al das rabim ein la'afara. Because a neder, an oath that's taken with the das rabim, with the knowledge, awareness, agreement of the multitudes, cannot be undone. Anyway, but what we see here, the main point we're trying to get at is that that your das is not important. You may be thinking when you take an oath, keep the Torah, you may be thinking Torah shabbasav, not Torah shabbat. Torah is what it means. Well, that's not a good example because I haven't even interpreted it two ways. When you say, I saw a camel fly, that's Shua Shvav. Even if you're thinking, I saw a vulture, it doesn't matter different. When you said, it's a Shua Shvav, it's what you said, not what you thought. When you say you're going to keep all 613 minutes of the Torah, doesn't mean you're thinking, well, something else. It means this. That's what goes by your pad, not by your thought. That's what we're trying to get at. Okay. Let's have maybe another line. We'll have to probably go over it again tomorrow, but we'll start. Okay, second line down by the two dots. Before that. Second line, beginning of the second line. If I did not see a snake the size of the beam of an olive press. Okay, below, it's not possible to see a snake the size of an olive press. Well, obviously. But we do have a case. It did happen. There was a case that in the days of Shvor Malka was the king of Persia, of Pras, in that time. It was in the days of him, wherever he lived, sometime in the time of Gemara, presumably. There was this giant snake, and it was a real menace, Rashi explains. And they took, if I'm reading it right, actually they took hay, straw. I don't know if there's a difference. Teven, the straw and hay is teven, and they filled it and they put in the teven the skin of a dead animal, and in that side I would think the other way, but Rashi seems to be applied that they put the straw, and inside the straw was the dead animal carcass or the skin, and inside they put some coals, and when the hides would prevent the coals from being started to burn, but the snake ate all 13 bales of hay, and inside were animals. When it punctured the animal, I don't know exactly. I mean, the straw, the teven got caught on fire from the coals, and then it made a big giant fire inside the snake and killed the snake. Anyway, all Agada tells aside, or whatever the story was here, but in fact, we do see a giant snake that was the size or larger of the beam of an olive press. So what's the story? The skin of the snake, or the skin of the. Oh yeah, like a boa constrictor. Yeah, the body. Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
But then it sits and digests whatever it is. It can take weeks.
Oh.
I'm correct.
Oh, so well, the coals have.
What they're saying is, yes, it's still smoky. What it was, they So they're trying to get rid of this big snake, so in order to do it, they fed it with a heck of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, it took it all in, and that caused its skin to expand. And it stays like that for a while whilst it's digesting it.
Okay.
And
Possible.
then they're able to kill it.
No, the fire. It lit up the fire. The fire lit the
Well,
fire.
they hear the fire, holes on inside. And then it just, it smolders. It's not immediate. That's why the snake is able to eat it all.
Right.
And then then realizes what it did. It doesn't know what it's eating.
Right.
It doesn't taste. Snake doesn't taste. So it's gonna swallow
You never look through the trees.
it. I know this from Walt Disney. Dumbo